Bal, Balthazar, Bal, Balthazar, Bal, Balthazar, Balthazar, Bal, Balthazar, Bal, Balthazar, Bal, Balthazar, 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 Balthazar.
In Professor Balthazar's town, in a little house in the middle of a green garden, lived Pinky the gardener. He was one of Professor Balthazar's best friends, and every year he brought him the first ripe cherries of the season as a present. In return, the professor brought rare seeds back with him from his travels, and from these, Pinky grew the most unusual plants. But Pinky had a problem. Everything that grew in his garden was becoming smaller and punier each year. The watermelons were as small as apples. The apples were the size of cherries. The cherries were no bigger than currants, and the currants were so tiny that one couldn't even see them. Quite naturally, the smaller his fruit was, the smaller the change Pinky got in payment. And for small change, of course, he was able to buy only small things. Pinky became very sad. And while his sons tried to comfort him, his old watchdog Fido showed very much less patience. For a while, he put up with smaller and smaller meals. But one fine day, he decided that he'd had enough. In Pinky's garden, things were going from bad to worse. Although Pinky watered his plants more conscientiously than ever, this only seemed to complicate matters. In despair, Pinky presented his very last plant to Professor Balthazar. When the professor heard the sad story, he immediately promised to solve Pinky's problem. He thought and thought and thought. And then he had the solution. He invented Maxol, a miracle ointment that made everything but everything grow faster. Their first experiment on a stunted flower produced absolutely gigantic results. Professor Balthazar and Pinky rushed to the garden, and Operation Maxol began. In the wink of an eye, the whole garden was completely transformed. It was full of the largest fruit the world had ever seen. Pinky became very famous. His fruit won first prizes at every agricultural fair. And even the pips and skins of his produce were used in all kinds of ways. Everyone in Professor Balthazar's town was happy that Pinky was once again contented and successful.
Balthazar, Balthazar, Balthazar.